pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go! Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi everyone, Happy New Year and welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. As we tear off the final page of the 2021 calendar, the end of the NFL regular season also draws near. The Steelers currently sit at 7-1 and need to win their last two games of the regular season even for a chance to make the postseason. Last Sunday in Kansas City, they started in playoff position, but by the end, they were on the outside looking in. For more on the loss to the Chiefs, let's send it over to Bob Pompeani, who's with Coach Tomlin. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. As we look ahead, the final two games of the regular season, both very big games in the AFC North. But first off, let's take a look back at Kansas City. And, Coach, if I had told you before the game that Najee Harris would rush for almost 100 yards, that Tyreek Hill would have 2 catches for 19 yards, and that you would hold them to 3.6 per rush, that sounds like a pretty good recipe for a win. It just didn't happen that way. Looking back, a lot of things to correct. What was your overall view of this game looking back now?
You know, the things that you described did not reflect a turnover component of play, and we knew that the turnover component of play had to be in our favor. And in that game, it was the exact opposite. It went against us. We turned the ball over, I think, 3 times. That resulted in 17 points for those guys. We had a turnover negated by a defensive offsides, and we didn't get any more. And so that component of play, particularly when you're playing good people and you're playing the type of quarterback that Mahomes is, will produce the outcome that you saw. But that's not anything earth-shattering or groundbreaking. We acknowledged that prior to the game. We just didn't get it done. And equally as important, they did. And I'd be remiss if I didn't compliment those guys on the execution of an intended plan.
Well, let's talk about some of the things offensively. Afterwards, you said there were problems to fix. A lot of guys were talking about that. What are the top things on your list looking at this team? You have an extra day of work this week, which could be helpful. What do you have to do to change what has gone wrong?
For us, the primary use of the extra day is sorting out a division of labor. We have a number of people who are working their way back to us or getting themselves in contention to be considered for work. We spent the vast majority of our time this week with the extra day looking at that division of labor, pondering the possibility of the inclusion of some of these guys, and that's been a significant component in terms of righting our ship in that phase.
2021 has been unusual, just as 2020 was. I looked back at some of the numbers with how many guys you've employed on defense, 34 of them, which has to be one of the all-time most people used on defense, given all the situations that have occurred here. And you also had an interesting situation, unfortunately, because of Presley Harvin, to get a punter in at the last minute. I mean, how does that work on a situation like that when you only have a few hours, essentially, to find somebody?
You know, I can't say enough about Kevin Colbert and his staff, man, just working and working to get somebody not only that's credible, like Corliss Waitman is, but somebody that has had a recent history with us. And that was an extremely attractive component of his acquisition. His experience here in terms of understanding our culture and having to been a part of this place, and also the established relationship that he had with Boz. And make no mistake, I don't know that they had an opportunity to work a snap hold component until we got to the stadium, but I'm sure there was an increased comfort relative to somebody that Boz was just meeting in an effort to work that component of play. And so I was just really appreciative that, number one, that Corliss was out there, and number two, that we were able to do the things necessary to get him into Kansas City and get him in the fold and get his contributions. Our heart goes out to Presley and his family for the loss that they endured. The services were this week, and we'll be excited to get him back into the fold and determine what a division of labor is at that position as we step into the stadium.
One other thing, Coach, this week, Adrian Clem, is on his way to Oregon, and is it unusual? At least I was looking back. I can't remember too many coaches that have left with a few games left in the season. What went into that decision, and were you comfortable with that decision? As
you mentioned, the landscape that is the coaching profession is ever changing. The things that go on in college ball also affect us in the National Football League, increasingly so. A lot of job changes will happen early in the college hiring cycle. In the effort to get out in front of the hiring cycle, people made some hires extremely early before the conclusion of the season and the bowl season. That trickles up, if you will, particularly when there's opportunities to gain from a role standpoint, whether it's title positions, coordinators, assistant head coaches, et cetera. And so it's kind of a new territory for us. I just, thought it was appropriate to allow him to go live that life and to pursue those new opportunities. I'm so appreciative of his efforts and the work that he did while he was here. But at the same time, moving on allows him to go do that. It allows us to get a really good look at Simo, who's our assistant line coach here and who's a very credible line coach. He was the lead line coach in Atlanta Falcons before he was here. And so he gets an opportunity with the remainder of the season to state a case for himself and to put his imprint on what has been our run game. He also has that added component that he's been a part of this process the whole time. And obviously, when you sit in a support capacity, you have a really good perspective on things. And so I'm excited about seeing what that perspective has provided him as he moves into the lead role. I get an opportunity to evaluate him. And also, it eliminates any potential questions regarding whether someone's attention is divided or whether we have the totality of someone. And let me be clear, I had no concerns about that with Adrian. Adrian's been the consummate professional, even after this situation developed. But I think it's important, particularly because the road is getting narrow and this is a big game, when you're in my position, that you eliminate even the potential of those type discussions, whether it's from the inside or from the outside, and the potential distractions that it could create. It's all about getting singular focused and circling the wagons, and those were the core reasons why the decision was made in the manner in which it was made.
Well, it is singularly focused on the Cleveland Browns. They're coming to town on Monday night, and now it's a lot of physical football, you would think, in the next couple of weeks, and the Steelers have got to win both those games. When we come back, we'll talk about the Browns and what they've been going through and what they present. That's next. Right now, let's send it back over to Missy Matthews.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, the Steelers and the Browns both want to win their final 2 games of the regular season for a chance to make the postseason. If you ask me, I think we're going to experience a playoff-like atmosphere at Heinz Field on Monday night. It's a matchup that will showcase 2 of the league's premier pass rushers in TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. Both players will be talked about for Defensive Player of the Year next month. Watt currently leads the NFL in sacks and quarterback hits. Don't go anywhere. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. Are you 84 Lumber material? Visit 84lumber.com/careers to learn more.
I don't ever speak in definites or guarantees. That's just not what I've ever done or who I am. But, looking at the bigger picture, I would say that all signs are pointing to this could be it. Regular season, that is. I know we still have a chance to potentially get a playoff game there if things fall our way and we take care of business and things have to happen. But in the grand scheme of things, in terms of regular seasons, signs are pointing that way. This could be it.
That was quarterback Ben Roethlisberger earlier this week, and Heinz Field has certainly been kind to number 7. Roethlisberger has won 2 AFC championships there, and of his 164 career regular season victories, 92 took place at home. The Steelers need to win this one if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. For more on this divisional matchup, let's send it over to Bob and Coach. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. And it's AFC North football for the final 2 weeks of the regular season. That's where the NFL wants it. It creates quite a buzz. There is physical game out there with the Cleveland Browns coming up on Monday. And, Coach, I can't imagine that anything stokes the fire more than that on a Monday night, knowing this is an elimination game, essentially.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables to get you excited. It's the Cleveland Browns. It's AFC North. Divisional game. It's a home game, our last regular season home game at Heinz Field for 2021. It also is a lot at stake, and it's Monday night. And so, we're excited about the opportunity, but more important than being excited about the opportunity is what are the things that we're doing in preparation. And so that's what this week has been about. You want to capitalize on the moment, but in an effort to do so, you better utilize the time to prepare. And so we've been focused mainly on the preparation with the acknowledgement of what a significant game and awesome opportunity it is.
Baker Mayfield, last time you played them, you went into Cleveland and won that game. It limited him to under 250 yards passing and no touchdowns. What was the secret then, and how do you carry that over into this game?
With all due respect to Baker, man, he's a challenge to us. I think the number one thing is Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and what they do with that running game. One of the reasons why we were successful up there is I think we, held them to 3.8 per carry. And obviously Hunt was unavailable, and I think that really was the catalyst kind of for what transpired in that stadium. We got to minimize their run game. I think the run game is the catalyst for everything that it is they do. Baker is awesome in the play-action passing game. That gets minimized when you're slowing the run game down. It gets highlighted when they're running the ball effectively. And so we recognize the challenge that is stopping the run this week. We got a ton of respect for Nick Chubb and Hunt and their run game, and it starts there for us this week.
They don't really seem to have a go-to guy right now. I know Donovan Peoples-Jones has been a targeted guy, but he has less than 500 yards. Has that hampered Baker Mayfield down the field?
I think you don't look at targets per se. The thing that captures our attention regarding Peoples-Jones is his yards per catch. He's 17 yards per catch, and so he's down the field. Then Njoku at tight end is 14.5 per catch. He's down the field. It's been a combination of those two guys that have really done an awesome job. And as I mentioned, they're not checkdowns. They're in the down the field capacity and variety. And so we better respect that component of it.
The other side of it is defense. And of course, Myles Garrett is there, although he has not put up the numbers the last several games that you would expect from him. They're getting Clowney back from a COVID list. So this will be a test for your offensive line.
It always is when you play the Cleveland Browns. All offensive discussions for us from a schematic standpoint and a planning standpoint start first and foremost with not allowing Myles to wreck the game. He is capable of that. He had a sack fumble recovery and score a couple of weeks back that kind of illustrate that. This guy's got 15 or 16 sacks in the season. He's a game wrecker. And so we got to minimize his impact on the game. And as you mentioned, Clowney is a formidable complement. He's quick twitch. He's talented. He's been around. Those two guys provide the wave that others follow. I will say this. They got a rookie linebacker, Wu, number 28, out of Notre Dame that didn't play against us the first time. He is a significant component for them. He's a talented young guy. He's an all situations and circumstances linebacker. He can really run. He has good instincts. He'll be a significant addition to the defensive equation for them this time around that wasn't there the last time as well.
All right, so it's the Cleveland Browns coming to town. Again, must win for both teams. The Steelers will be home. Then it's one final game after that against the Ravens. We'll talk about the keys to the game coming up with Coach Tomlin and also the way this NFL season has gone. It's wild, it's wacky, and it's going to go right down to the final game of the season, it would appear. That's when we come back. Missy, let's send it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Playoff time is here. 24 teams still have a chance to make the postseason, and of 9 of them, they could win out and not even make it. It sure will set up to be a crazy final 2 weeks of the regular season. Up next, Merril Hoge highlights a few key plays that led to the 15-10 win versus the Browns in Week 8 in Cleveland on Halloween. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show continues right after the break.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
It might sound cliche, but most football games are won in the trenches. The team that controls the line of scrimmage can usually dictate the flow of the game. And when Pittsburgh and Cleveland met in Week 8, it was the Steelers who won the battle of the big men. For more on that, here's Merril Hoge with this week's Playbook.
Big Monday night game against the Cleveland Browns. A rematch, obviously the first matchup, Steelers win that. And we went back and looked at it, especially from the offensive perspective. They controlled the line of scrimmage. It's one of their best games ever of running the football. And I say controlling the line of scrimmage, that's where it all starts, but they also had some wrinkles, some jet motion. They ran a lot of reverses. and that really affected the box of the Cleveland Browns. So I want to show you first this run with this particular motion and how it affected them. First, though, let's look at the line of scrimmage. Okay, here's the line of scrimmage. No matter what game you're looking at or watching, if they're going to run the football, watch right there. You're going to know who's winning this depending on who wins that. If the Cleveland Browns are playing over here, well, that's going to be a long day for the Steelers. If the Steelers are playing over here with those guys down in the trenches, going to be a good day for the Steelers. Well, this ends up being a good day. Let's go to the snap of the ball. Watch the line of scrimmage. Okay, line of scrimmage was here, now it is here. Controlling the line of scrimmage. You give this cat running lanes, he will devastate you and run on the football. And in the NFL, this has been called a big play, 9 yards. Now, down in the scoring territory, they had really successful runs. They're going to run a counter here. A counter, you usually know it by a couple guys are pulling. And these are the guys that they're going to pull. But what they do, because they have the tight end wide here, it really affects this pass rusher, their best pass rusher. So by formation, you help set up a run. They run a beautiful counter, and it's blocked about as good as you can block it. Kick out here, you're gonna have a dig out here and a dig out here, and your runner is in the canale. From the end zone, you can really see how it affected them. When you widen your pass rushers like this, that helps your blockers. And they do a great job at snapping the ball. From the end zone, you see it so much better. Beautiful kick out here. You got dig outs here, you got accountability there, and then your runner with the patience, and then he hits it. Just a beautiful design and execution of how they ran the football. Now in the first matchup, they were outstanding at defending the run, which is a pivotal component if you're gonna beat Cleveland. This is the last drive of the game. The Cleveland Browns are gonna run what we call a counter play. Guard's gonna pull here, tight end's gonna pull, and they're gonna get one of the best backs in football, potentially clean in the secondary. But I want you to watch Highsmith here. I want you to watch how he plays this run and how he saves the day on this third down play. Zoom motion. Well, here's those blocks I was telling you about. Okay, it cannot be blocked any better than this. You have a gaping hole and a canale. Fitzpatrick may be your only guy that has a shot at stopping this, except Highsmith. Now, he didn't widen it here and hang, but once he saw it, he caves inside. Look what happens. He chases this down from the backside. Now, you tell me, Chubb in the open area, I am telling you this, that's a first down at least. This is a tackle for a loss because of a great play. On third down, keep in mind. Well, the Steelers are going to need plays like this throughout the course of this game. Critical component, they stop the run. They stop the run, they force them into situations like this, advantage Steelers.
And of course, you can catch all of Merril's playbooks right now on the Steelers YouTube page. Well, the Steelers need to finish strong in the regular season, winning their last 2 games just for a chance to make the postseason. That means the single elimination tournament will start on Monday night when the Cleveland Browns come to town. It's time now for our keys to the game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. So let's check in one final time with Bob and Coach. Bob.
Coach, let's talk about how the NFL has desired to create parity. I think they've achieved that goal if you look at the records with these teams and how it's headbanging back and forth, but also emphasizing division play at the end of the season. Do you like that component?
I do like that component. I like it because it makes the races and things interesting for the fan. And man, how can you not be excited about that? It's somewhat problematic for us as coaches and decision makers from club to club. There's an attrition component at the end of the season that kind of, makes it problematic. A lot of teams have absorbed significant injuries by that component of the season, and so it has a chance to really dramatic affect the outcomes of positional battles or divisional battles when those games are pushed toward that area. But also, as you see this time of year, in this pandemic time, the way COVID has picked up, particularly around the holidays, also provides some challenges for us that are in positions of decision making in regards to the division of labor and putting your best product out there for the fans as well. And so it's great for the fans. It's great for attention. Obviously, these races are going to come down to the very end, which is a good thing for our game. But there are some challenges in terms of the quality of play or the potential quality of play when you look at the accumulation of injury and the COVID challenges this time of year.
All right, it's Cleveland now. Offensively, I know last week you said you likely had to get close to 30 points just because of the way the Chiefs play. This might become more of a physical, just one of those games in the trenches. Is that good for your offensive line, the young guys, to get involved that way?
I just think for us, all of those discussions aside, and I agree with what you said, I think more than anything, man, we got to play with passion and energy, and we can't carry the baggage of past failures and the things that teams often carry into these circumstances. The Cleveland Browns are in a very similar circumstance as we are. They've had some moments that have been good. They've had some moments, obviously, that have been bad, and that could describe any of us that are vying for playoff positioning and are not on secure footing at this time of year. Our ability to play fast and free and with emotion and not carry those bags from that experience I described is going to define us, but it's also going to define the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens and any other team, Miami Dolphins, anyone else that's vying for those playoff positions. I just think that that's a component of it, and that's not something that we're going to bury our heads in the sand regarding. We're going to talk openly about it. We got to step into the stadium with a can-do attitude. We got to play fast and free. We can't live in our fears. We got to make our hopes and dreams happen.
All right, and it all takes place on Monday night right here in Pittsburgh, final regular season home game of the year. Coach, thanks very much and all the best.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for our program. Be sure to join us tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. Yeah, it's not the game day, but we'll still be there. We're live talking about the Browns and Steelers. That comes your way on our kickoff program on KDKA. So for head coach Mike Tomlin and Missy Matthews, I'm Bob Pompeani. Happy New Year. All the best in 2022, and we'll get you started with a Monday night game against the Browns. Have a good weekend.